Welcome back to this week's episode of Closed by Mo. My name is Mohammed. I hope you guys know that by now. Today we are joined by my clients as well as new co-op owners. They bought their first co-op last year, actually. This is Marcus and this is Shataya. I will let them introduce themselves and then give us a little bit of background about what sort of why we're here today. And of course, I have some questions to go through as well. But I'll stop talking. Marcus, you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Hey, I'm Marcus, and I work for the city, and I bought a co-op and by Mo. It was an interesting experience.
Cool.
I'm Shataya, Marcus's wife, and we went through this process together.
There you go. All right. One question that sometimes I will, when I talk to people that are buying or thinking about buying real estate for the very first time in New York City, they'll hear stories about how it's so difficult to buy an apartment in the city because of co-ops, not necessarily condos. Can you talk to me a little bit about what factor influenced your decision to saying, hey, you know what, I think we want to buy a co-op? Marcus, if you want to start us off with.
Yeah, the fact is it was just buying something that was low maintenance. There wasn't a lot of houses in the area. Something that was also close to work and everything like that. So those factors all factored in versus buying a house. So that was one big thing for me, was definitely a location to work and everything.
Yep.
So.
I remember the current co-op that you bought, without giving out the address or anything. How far away is it from your work?
It's about 20 minutes. Yeah.
20 minutes. Okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty close. And what was the factors that you said, hey, you know what, it's okay for us to buy a co-op? Because I know you already own property, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. So it goes to the first one that he said, the low maintenance.
Okay.
Having a house is a lot more work. There's no maintenance team to call.
Yeah.
You have to have your own setup and ready to go. And it was also more so we wanting to accommodate him being closer to work.
Gotcha.
And for the area where we were choosing, that isn't an area that I would want to invest in a house.
Gotcha.
Either per se. So a co-op seemed like the best option to fit all of our needs.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it's one of the things I also tell my clients that are like, oh, why would anyone want to buy an apartment if I want to buy a house? And I tell them, well, you don't have to worry about a roof. You don't have to worry about a basement. You don't have to worry about, the sidewalk damaging, someone slipping in the snow, and now you don't have to worry about like cutting the grass, keeping stuff cleaned up. You don't have to worry about stuff like that.
Exactly.
One thing as well, and I'm making a video series on my social media and my online marketing about how co-op purchases can be difficult, because if you recall,
Yes.
while we were under contract, that didn't last just 30 days.
No.
If I'm not mistaken, that lasted 5 to 6 months almost.
Yes.
Right? That was, by the way,
Yes.
just so everyone's listening and everyone that's watching, 5 to 6 months from being under contract. So we had already taken a couple of months to look at properties, negotiate on a couple of properties, and eventually get it under contract. And I think we did get a good deal on yours, not to put, pat myself on the back, but 5 to 6 months from contract to finally the co-op board approving and we're getting the closing. Can you walk me through what that experience was like? Because I know all of us are ready to start throwing hands at people. I know that. I remember that.
Oh man, yes. Well, how long do you have, right?
Yeah.
So one thing that I would say that would help them is make sure that the board is not in transitioning while you're looking for an apartment, because that really threw us for a loop, and they were practically trying to get themselves together while we were in the middle of this process, and that was the delay.
Yeah.
I'll be fair to the board themselves, because it's you're working with people, they're human, they make mistakes.
Sure.
This board made a little bit too many for our patience, but all in all, it was definitely an eye-opening experience where we needed to know more about. I wish that we knew more about boards and how long their term was and everything like that.
Sure,
that definitely led into it.
Yeah, definitely, because it's funny. My patience is very thin,
Yeah.
but his go a long way. And so if you cut into him getting bothered, it's a lot. But, thankfully, we had you.
Yeah, I remember that. My goodness, I remember even the seller's broker was also like, well, I don't know what's going on with this board. Because if I'm not mistaken, we had submitted the application already, and once we submitted the application, we find out, oh, hey, the management company is changing. And then I tried to contact the previous management company. I'm like, you never told me. I literally spoke to you last week. You never mentioned this at all.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we have to start the process again. You guys have to repay the application fee and everything. Can you talk to me a little bit about how the interview process was with the board? Because I know that's one of the final hurdles. And the reason I ask that, for clarity for people that might be interested in buying a co-op, in New York City, or at least in New York State, as long as the co-op board is not rejecting anyone based off of anything that it might be called legal discrimination, they can reject anyone for any purposes.
Yes.
So can you give us a bit of background about what your co-op interview, the board interview, was like?
Yeah, well, the co-op interview, it was my first time, and it was very thorough. They did ask a lot of good questions and everything. I wish I would have, prepared a little bit better, but they do ask you your background, your finances, how exactly you're going to plan on, for a hardship or anything like that. Okay. But, as long as you have your ducks in a row, you shouldn't worry. It's pretty much honest and upfront. You're dealing with normal, human people, not more so much like a job interview, just another, personal interview. As if you was being interviewed by somebody who had their own home.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And also to piggyback off that, realizing that the people on the board in this case are people who actually live there as well.
Gotcha.
So they only care about the best interest of the property and want to make sure that whoever's coming there is going to care the same or more.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Can I ask, because you mentioned the question about the hardship. The only reason I'm prodding further is because I actually recently, we saw an apartment with a client, and upon reviewing the co-op rules, one of the rules was the buyer needed to have 5 years of reserve payments, and I was like, is this a mistake?
5 years?
5 years. Wow. And I was like, is this a mistake? Did they mean 5 months? And the broker was like, nope, they want 5 years. I'm like, that's multiple six figures to expect someone to have liquid in their bank account.
Yes.
So when they asked you, like, hey, what do you plan on doing in a hardship? Can I ask how you responded to that, and did they ask anything further on that?
Yeah, they did. I was surprised they did ask for at least 6 months, which was reasonable for us, but it was still like, something else too. Is like, you don't think that they would require or ask you to have that much of reserves. It felt like it was kind of procedural, but also what she said, it's like they want to know that you're not at risk for them. So understanding, like, I say 50-50.
Gotcha. I already asked about the application and the approval process. What advice would you give to someone that's considering purchasing a co-op in the city? I'd like to hear from each of you separately.
Okay.
Yeah. Do your research, have very much patience, and try if you can to ask like the tenants if you get that chance beforehand. It's like they're people too, and they have the most experience. One of the things is like one of the tenants, or even one that we was purchasing for, she had the experience to know about the co-op and give us the play-by-play with the board and everything that helped increase our patience, so to speak. So.
She was also a very patient person. I remember.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember when we had first started seeing it, they'd already packed up, and they were waiting. The broker told me they were waiting to close on this one for them to be able to close on the next one. And I think they had lost the place because she said they had.
They unfortunately did. And even with us, I don't know what happened, but they had an offer before us.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right,
because we saw it, and then we paused for a few months, right, and then we went back. That's
because we were gonna be the backup.
What about you, Shataya? What advice would you give someone who was like considering, who maybe was in your shoes last year too?
Definitely to have a lot of patience, but also to dot your I's and cross your T's. A big part of what helped in this process for me was documenting everything.
Yeah, I remember you're very organized.
So I would say definitely stay organized, because in the process that we went through, we would have never expected that we turned something over and then they say they didn't get it.
Yep. 3 times. 3 times? It happened 3 times? I remember that happened with the, was it like a $50 or $500 check or something? Was it a move-in fee or something?
The move-in fee, also with the, what do you call that, agreement?
Something agreement.
I can't remember the name of it, but pretty much the agreement where everyone's on board with this transition, the attorneys and everyone. And so I would say definitely make sure you stay organized, dot your I's, cross your T's, make copies of everything, keep proofs of everything. And I would also say pay attention to the details, like knowing what the expectations are. Because the big difference between owning your own private house and a co-op is not only is there a board, but there's bylaws and rules that you have to follow. So you got to understand that you own shares in a bigger
corporation.
It's a corporation. So knowing what their expectations are and making sure that they align with your needs.
Absolutely. I completely agree. It's funny, I think that's like one of the big things a lot of people don't necessarily realize going into it. When you become a shareholder of a corporation, a lot of the financing and the the purchase nitty gritty revolve around that itself, right? So you're not just, when you're buying a house, it's you, the seller, and the house. That's it. That's it, right? In a co-op, it's you, the seller, the co-op board, the co-op board's financials. Are there any assessments in place? Or, how are the, what's the makeup of the buildings, tenants versus owner-occupied? All these different regulations that come into play, right? And I guess I wanted to ask you guys, if you had to redo it, would you do it again? If you had the choice to buy a co-op again, would you do it?
I'm in the middle. So here's why.
I can see his face. He's like, I know what she's going to say. Yeah.
So the process to get in was indeed a headache, by no means.
Of course.
But now that we're in, to say it has been smooth sailing is an understatement,
really?
Right?
Okay.
Like the unit itself is amazing.
Yep.
Our fellow occupants are amazing, very friendly, helpful, outgoing, easy to get along with. And the maintenance team themselves is really good. Like the moment you need something, you put in, sometimes they say, oh, you got to put in a formal request. Before you could even put in a formal request, they're knocking at your door.
Oh, they know.
So it's like, oh, you need help with this? I'm like, I didn't put the request in yet. But so like, nice. and then like, the doorman, like just everybody on site has been amazing. So it's made it worth it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But when you think back about the process to get there, it makes you second guess it.
Oh,
so
I see.
If you can have patience to get through the process to get there, then it's worth it.
That makes sense. That makes a lot. And one of the things I tell my clients too is you have to understand people that are living in a co-op. They know that most of the time it's primary owner occupied. So they want to make sure they really know the people, or they do a very thorough vetting process before just letting anyone buy into the property. Because everyone's got money, but it's like they want to make sure that whoever's living there is like meets their standards too.
Exactly.
So I'm glad you guys are having good experience with that building too. Marcus, you had mentioned sometimes the different rules and things that a co-op board might put into place. Have you encountered any specific rules or regulations in this building that you're currently in that you found challenging? You're like, hey, you know what? This seems unfair.
No, not that that's unfair. Surprisingly enough, it's like everything. Even things that I thought that would be an issue, like pets and everything like that. There's one tenant that has a pet in the building, but it's like she said, it's peaceful. All the occupants, it's definitely a community, so it's nothing that was difficult, nothing that we really had to bump heads with. Any rule that we found like, oh, this will be difficult, or we didn't, understand and everything like that. And it goes to the point of the maintenance team, being there to like guide you through, the rules. So
the entire process.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there so one thing I've noticed when clients have bought, like they've got their foot into a door into like a co-op building and they really like it. When there's other units that become available, of course the residents of the building either know about it or they have the first right to like put in offers or whatever it is, right? Do you see yourself, like, if you had the opportunity, if you had the capacity to buy another one, do you guys think you would do it in the same building, maybe? Not just for yourself, maybe to rent out or for family or anything?
Actually, we haven't thought about it that way. We thought about our own unit as an investment, but we definitely thought about, if because I know we do have a tenant that seems like a family member on the same floor, actually. Yeah. So yes, like if we know anybody else, family members that know, you would definitely help them in on the process.
Okay, well that's really good to know. I think it gives you an idea of like how well run the building is as well, because I remember when we had looked through the house rules and the financials and everything seemed to be in order. They may have been a little bit slow, a little bit sloppy, but the finances and everything seemed to be good. So the building overall seems like to be well run, which is important. Talk to me a little bit more about then the overall transaction. Was there anything during the entire transaction process while you were with the bank, while you were with the attorneys, that you felt like, hey, you know what, this is something that a new co-op buyer or co-op hunter should know from beforehand before they get into here?
I guess right off the top of my head, what I could think about is the parking.
The parking? Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you would think that your unit, if there's on-site parking, comes with the parking spot together, but it doesn't. So you purchase your unit, you purchase your shares into the corporation, however you want to look at that, and that does not come with the parking space. So you actually have to go on a waiting list. And even if the person you're purchasing from has a parking space, which You know,
Seller
they
did?
did.
Okay.
The seller did.
Mhm.
That parking space doesn't come to us. It
Gotcha,
goes back
gotcha.
into circulation.
Whoever was on the waiting list.
On
Gotcha,
exactly.
gotcha.
So we're now waiting for a parking spot.
Okay. How long have you guys been waiting?
Since then, they said what they told us.
They said it could be up to 2 years.
Okay.
It may not take that long,
Yeah.
but it could be.
Which is funny. Now to remind you, is the storage the same way? Because I remember that they had storage too.
Oh, I don't
It's like,
know.
that's a big question because I remember it's like could we had the storage and it should have been similar to the parking too. So they could have passed it over. They wanted to bill us for it. So I was like, yeah. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So, yeah.
They tried to put it in our fees.
Okay, they tried to bill you for the storage. You're like,
Yeah,
oh,
when we were at the closing,
okay.
they were like, "Hey, these are like your maintenance fees carried over," and I'm like, "No, it's not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be this."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Wait, hold on, let me double check." They come back and was like, "Oh, we're sorry, that was for the parking unit in the garage, the storage unit." We're like, "Oh, well, you're giving it to us?" They were like, no, we corrected it.
Okay. There you
Exactly.
go. That's interesting. So like one thing I've realized as well, working with both of you as well as some other co-op clients compared to like house hunting clients, when it comes to co-ops, typically people will look for like storage units, bike rooms, sunlight, how much light. I mean, you guys' unit gets a lot of light because it has a balcony too.
Yes.
But other like building amenities, and I realized that for the both of you, I don't think amenities were like the biggest thing. You know, they were. I guess you guys were more focused on like the actual unit itself. Besides the basic amenities, like a doorman was a nice to have. I remember. Mail, like as long as like the mail and the stuff that it wasn't getting lost, things were important to them. How I guess now that you're in the building itself, what are some things that you know would have said, hey, you know what, if I knew now what I now know, what would have changed if you had restarted the process?
For me, nothing. I think I'm happy.
Okay.
Like I got my non-negotiables and
okay. There you go.
Yeah, so I wouldn't change it. I think that was the perfect unit for me.
Oh, you guys wanted, okay.
Yeah, it was for us. It was like I said, like the added benefit that we didn't know was the doorman, which is very helpful. I had experience in a previous building where the mail was all left on the floor in the room. So having a doorman there to have your packages definitely adds a bonus and a sense of security for apartment. So that was definitely a great bonus.
Okay.
And as far as the amenities, the laundry room and everything that you knew that they had and everything is good. It's well managed, well clean, you know. Almost feels like 24/7. Day in the morning, afternoon, everything is clean. So that's great, you know.
Okay. And I only have two last questions. The first one might be a little bit personal, so if you guys don't want to answer, that's fine. Is there anything about the co-op board that you wish you could change? Anything negative that's going on that you're like, hey, I wish they did more or less of this?
No, I think we came in at the perfect time because they just made the transition and now it's like, you know, flowing well.
Yeah.
So I think it was worth the wait because we avoided the headache.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. And then here's a question then for the both of you. I'd like to hear each of your answers. Any regrets with the process? Anything that you could go back and say, I wish we didn't do that, or I wish we did it differently?
Print out like 5,000 copies of the application. I mean, that I was really pissed about because they told us one thing that we had to be prepared. We really did print out these 7,000 copies, a whole book full of. And when I get there to them, they was like, "Oh, we only needed one. That was all." I was like, yes.
Oh yeah, then when you had to submit the album, you had to submit the file.
Yeah. In the case of always, like, you may have something in the fine print, it's always good to call and check and follow up to make sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that was really something that could have saved a lot of time.
It's good to know. It's good to know because there's
my time.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, because I did all of
it. Yeah, I remember stopping by and she's like, well, here's what we have. Here's what I'm like, oh wow, this is so organized.
Very organized.
And the applications are like this big, but they're like 200 stick. What do you need all this paperwork for?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, they need a packet for each board member. Like,
we only need one. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have. I mean, I feel like I don't know why, but even now, they still make you submit. Most of them make you submit a paper application. Well, why is it not digital? Why is there not like a questionnaire or something people could just fill out like a college application?
No clue.
Yeah, but what about you? What's the one biggest regret that you have with the process?
My one biggest regret. I can't say I really regret anything. I think it was just all a learning experience, you know. It helped you to understand that if you ever go through this process again, you know, and also to be prepared for like if we sell or if we sublease, you know, things like that, what to look out for. So I don't regret it. I think it was just a good learning experience.
That's good, because what's so funny is what I've learned is, you know, buying a co-op is an uphill battle. But it doesn't end there, especially when it comes time to eventually sell it. You know, if you guys just to upgrade, downgrade, whatever it is, you still have to deal with the same co-op, right? Or the same, the same co-op board, right? But it's just from another angle now.
Yeah.
And what I know is that the co-op board does obviously have final say in the purchase, but they're going to want to put the best interest of the co-op first, just like when you're on the buy side.
Right.
So they're not just going to let you sell for $1, even if you just want to sell for $1 and the buyer wants to buy for $1, right? So it's in their best interest and the best interest of all the other shareholders to make sure that they maintain some kind of continuity in the prices, or there's some sort of there's a upward trend in the overall price trajectory of the building itself.
Right.
That's really important. All right. Is there anything else you guys would like to add or share to anyone that's listening or watching that's probably going to be watching this because they're thinking about buying a co-op in New York City? Anything else?
So you're buying a co-op in this city, definitely overestimate it's better in everything, because you're going to be over-prepared on your time, on your patience, on your finances. It's best to over-prepare. That's what I would say.
Yeah, don't need to move immediately.
Yeah.
Don't need be flexible with release. Make sure you land. I mean, you guys had a huge advantage because you were already in the house that you were you already owned the house. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of useful information. Believe it. I know it might seem like very just second knowledge or second easy knowledge stuff for you guys, but this is very new stuff for a lot of people that are watching and listening. And thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.